Welcome to Kratom Sobriety. This is episode 85, and I'm Charlie, and I'm with Christine this week. How you doing?
I'm a little stressed, but I'm okay. Charlie, how are you?
I'm the same. I'm moving. My deadline is in 2 days, and so deadlines motivate me, though. So
Good, because 2 days is not a lot of time.
no,
You're down to the wire.
And that'll be our topic this week: how to deal with stress without Kratom.
I think that's a great topic because you're moving. I just started a new job, as I mentioned last week, and I have some other stuff going on. It's been a good few weeks, but it's been a stressful few weeks.
Before we get into that, I just want to let everybody know we have an interview with Stevenson. Jacob has that, and we'll play that right after the break. So, a new job. What else is going on?
So, if people listen to my episode, I won't talk too much about myself, but I got sober 3 months ago from Kratom. And I didn't have anything going on for 3 months. Nothing. No stress. I mean, I was very stressed about getting sober. That felt like a full-time job for a while. But I didn't have anything else. I had lost my job when I was using. I crashed my car. I lost custody of my son, So for 3 months, I just spent it all on recovery and not using Kratom. And now, over the last couple of weeks, I have custody of my son back. So I'm a mom again, full mom role again. I have a full-time job again. I have my car back. So all this amazing stuff, but a lot of stressors. So it's been a lot. A lot's been going on. And in the past, I would have dealt with the stress absolutely by using Kratom. And I don't do that anymore. So, it's been interesting trying to find different healthy ways to deal with the stress.
And then some jokers on the internet invited you to participate in a podcast to add to your plate.
Yeah, what's going on with that? Yeah, and then this podcast, which has been amazing. Yeah, there's just been so much. It's just been a whirlwind of things happening the last couple of weeks.
Have you found anything in your toolbox that helped? Just one thing.
The one thing that pops into my head, and it sounds so cliche, when I started going to meetings and stuff, because I go to AA meetings for my, recovery, and that has worked for me, but I hated all of the cliche things people would say the first couple of weeks, like, one day at a time and all that stuff. It got me angry because it just sounded so simplistic. But now that I'm like 3 months in, people say all that stuff all the time because it's true. And the one thing that pops into my head that has worked for me a lot is be comfortable with the uncomfortable, which sounds ridiculous. Like, why would I want to put myself in uncomfortable situations? But every time I do something uncomfortable and I get through it, I feel it's like a rush. It's like I hate using the word high, but it's a healthy rush of good feelings for getting through it and being strong and doing something good. So I've been trying to just keep that mantra in my head, be comfortable with the uncomfortable, comfortable with the uncomfortable. And it's worked so far, along with lots of sleep and probably eating too much junk food. And yeah, that's helped me. What are you doing to get through your move?
Well, in July, I had this great idea, and I wish I would have implemented it, which was I was going to do like the spreadsheet, and I was going to do one room a week. My brain doesn't work like that. And it would have been a lot more rational and healthy. Part of the reason I was attracted to Kratom, sometimes it helped me with productivity. Like if I had a block or if I was procrastinating, I could like push through it, but there was always like negatives that would make me go backwards where I'd have to recover later. But yeah, so I did make some progress last weekend. The reality is tomorrow I'm probably gonna have to do like a binge of packing, which is not super healthy, like 12 hours straight. It would be better to like do small steps, break it down, take breaks. That would be the rational thing. And, I have a deadline and in the future, I think doing things in chunk sizes is better. I'm a year plus in it, simple things like eating right and hydrating can really help. So
yeah, the rational planning things out approach sounds very healthy, but I also would not do that. I think I would wait until the last minute and then just power pack. So I completely relate.
Yeah.
And moving is so stressful, even when you're not in recovery. Moving is just hard.
It is. It's 5 years of stuff here. And the stuff that I actually have to pack, are the things from when I moved 5 years ago that I never unpacked, and they're still in the boxes. So I have the choice of just bringing them with me again and or doing some purging, recycling, and sorting here. And I want to do it. I don't know if there's just some emotional stuff in those boxes that the addicts of my life or something. But my kids are now 18 and 15, and some of the stuff I was packing was their clothes from when they were in middle school and late elementary school. It was like, oh, they don't wear this anymore. So
yeah, that's a whole process. There's so many emotions involved with moving.
Yeah, there's some nostalgia and
yeah.
where did the time go? And the last thing that I'm thinking about, but I know would be helpful, is maybe like some deep breathing, meditation. I mean, that's like advice to say. I'll give that advice to people, but I'm not taking it.
I hear you on that. Meditation is one thing that I have not added to my recovery yet. And I know I probably should. I mean, I've heard from so many people that it's very helpful. Even like 5 minutes of meditation a day is helpful to get you centered, and just for so many reasons. And I'm a very anxious person kind of by nature. I always have been. So I think it would be very helpful for me, but it's one of those things where I just keep putting it off, and I haven't really given it a fair shot. Yeah.
I was just talking with somebody. It was like, I think the periods of times where I was happiest, I was meditating, and I was like, was I meditating because I was happy, or was I happier and it made me meditate, But the book that I really found really accessible, and I had some stereotypes about this guy. His name's Dan Harris, and he used to be a journalist. He was like a news anchor, and he wrote this book, like 10% Happier. And I think he has a podcast too. But I read that book like 10 years ago, and it was very practical, and it did lead me to doing a little bit more meditation.
I think I'm going to make that one of my goals this week, is to try the meditating, at least for 5 minutes. And there's so many good apps out there that can help you with it.
Meditation is your goal. And I have like a 15 days in between my housing here ends and my new house ends, and I'm in an Airbnb. So it's a little bit like a staycation. I have a place. So I'm going to try to start some new routines in those 15 days. It's, I'm in a new building, and hopefully then I can carry those routines. Maybe meditation would be a nice one. The last thing is, when you do that list and you say there's going to be like, I want to do 5 things, I want to do 10 things, that always gets me overwhelmed, and then I get perfectionist, So it's like, if I can't do it all, then I just won't do any of it.
Yeah, all or nothing. I feel like that's a very common thing for people in recovery. I know I'm like that.
Even if I just went on a walk every day during those 15 days, that would be just really a success story. So
yeah, now's the perfect time. You can reinvent the parts of your life that you want to reinvent. It's exciting. Yes. This is like a new adventure for you.
Yes, I am moving to a new city about 2 hours away. So I'm indulging in a little bit of geographic cure, but there's some fun in moving. It's a new chapter.
Absolutely. We're both starting new chapters. It's exciting.
Yeah.
It's stressful, but I think more importantly, it's exciting, and it's an opportunity for new beginnings. I'm being very optimistic right now, but that's the way to look at it, I think.
Congratulations of being your new job, and being a mom, you never get to retire from that. So any pearls of wisdom you want to leave us with before we...
Pearls of wisdom. I would just, for all the moms and parents out there, it's one thing I've been reflecting on. I had a lot of trouble when I got my son back. I felt like I had to be giving him all of my time and attention, because I had missed him so much, and I'd missed out on being a mom for a few months. And I realized that the most important thing is that I stay off Kratom. I can't be a good mom if I'm on the Kratom. And if that means I need like 10 minutes of self-care while he's with me, then that's what I need, because that will help me stay sober and off Kratom, and that will help me be a better mom in the end. So to any parents out there, and I'm going to try to take this advice myself, don't feel guilty for taking care of yourself, because that will help you take care of your children better. I'm giving you permission today to take some time to yourself. Excellent. And I'll do the same.
It is back to school season. So if you have children in the house, schedules are changing. So
yes, it's a lot.
All right. Well, we'll hear what Jacob and Stevenson have to say.
I can't wait. Let's do it.
Welcome to the Kratom Sobriety Podcast. This is Jacob. I'm here with Stevenson tonight. Stevenson, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well.
Nice. That's great to hear. So, Stevenson, how would you like to introduce yourself to our audience? Things like your age, family, profession, anything you want to tell us about yourself?
My name is Stevenson. I am currently 33. I'm married, been married almost 8 years now. Have 2 daughters, 6 and a year and a half. They're the most important thing in the whole world.
Nice.
I work in the urethane and rubber lining industry.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, I predominantly work with urethane products.
All right. Any hobbies or anything you like to do for fun, with the kids or anything like that?
Oh, yeah, I like to skateboard whenever I can.
Nice.
I work quite a bit. And then I always have the fear of getting hurt because then I can't work.
Yeah, that's hard with kids too. Yeah, that's cool. I don't know if we've gotten too many skaters on the podcast, but the more the merrier. Well, as much as we could talk about that all night, and that'd probably be a little more fun, we'll talk about why you're here. So tell us a little bit about when you first encountered Kratom and how you came to try it and all that stuff.
The first time I ever heard about Kratom was 2013. I was in a year-long residential program. Obviously, they would drug test us, randomly.
Yep.
And there were a bunch of different guys in the program that were using Kratom because it wouldn't come up on a drug test and, kind of mimics the effects of some opioids.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's the first time I ever heard about it. I never tried it in the program.
Okay.
Because opiates have never been my issue.
Okay.
Alcohol was my demon.
I hear that, man. I had all the demons, but alcohol was a big one for me. It took me a long time to kick that one, but I got about 6 years sober now. Well, almost 6 years from alcohol. But yeah, so you have some history of usage. It sounds like you had a drinking problem for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Have you been sober for the long haul, or?
Yeah, it's been about 8 years.
Oh, that's awesome. Congrats.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so you first heard about it in 2013 in the residential program. A year. That's crazy. That's intense. Well, good for you.
Yeah.
I'm sure you learned a lot of really good stuff there.
Oh, yeah.
When did you first actually come to try it, and what made you kind of think about trying it?
I had pretty much forgotten about Kratom, I guess you could say, for a few years. And then in 2017, 18-ish, I found out about it again. I was like, oh, yeah, I remember Kratom. And back in the residential, it was people were taking the Viva Zen,
the shot things, yeah.
Yeah. They look like a 5-hour energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but people were drinking Viva Zens.
Okay.
So I never really knew the broad capabilities of Kratom and
all the different kinds, yeah,
and whatnot. Yeah. So I remembered I saw it in a gas station. So I started researching it, and I was working sandblasting and painting industrial plants and traveling. I had read that the people in the Pacific Islands used Kratom to help deal with the heat and the humidity in their climate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why a lot of people, or a lot of them, were using it was to deal with their hard labor. So I'm like, oh, okay, let me see if I can, use it medicinally in that aspect. And then, so I tried it in capsule form. When it first started out, like any other thing, once or twice a week, whenever I was really tired from a long day, I'd take it the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just became progressively worse. It just ended up being 1, 2 days a week, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 8 days a week, just around the clock, to the point where I would wake up in the middle of the night and take Kratom.
Yeah.
I was taking nearly 100 grams a day.
Oh, wow. How long did it take you to go from when you were just using it to help you with fatigue and to deal with the heat and that to where you knew that it was starting to become a problem?
I'd probably say within a year.
Okay, so it took you a year. And
yeah. Within a year, I was taking at least like 2 ounces a day.
oh, wow. And how long did you
Yeah.
keep up that level of usage, or how did you go from 2 to like 4 if you got to like 100?
Yeah. I used for a total of like 5.5 years.
Oh, okay, so you were doing some heavy powder usage for a long
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever get into any of the extracts or anything like that, or were you always using the powder?
No, I never. I just did powder, mix it with orange juice,
Okay.
take a shot of it. And I was doing it like every 2 or 3 hours,
Yeah.
like 2 tablespoons, like every 2 or 3 hours.
Did it get to the point where it was just like you were just using it to feel normal essentially at the end, or?
Yeah. Essentially, yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Okay. How did you get to the point where you decided it became a problem, and when did you, first try to quit?
Maybe 2.5 years into it, I started like, I just noticed like I would be sick every day,
Yeah.
like nausea and, vomiting, I guess from just taking so much. And then like, I'd say like 2.5 years into 3 years, I started noticing like terrible apathy where I had no emotions at all. Like it didn't matter like what kind of environment I was in, it was the same flatline emotion. That's when I knew like, oh, yeah, this is a problem, because I wanted to be able to be excited, when I was around my kids and be happy at a birthday party or any various things that I enjoyed doing once before I didn't anymore.
Yeah, you just want to do all the normal things that any father and,
Yeah.
adult would want to do with and live your life. And yeah, it's getting in your way and making you an apathetic, just flatline. I got there
Oh,
too.
yeah.
I got up to, I didn't take the powder at the end. I was mostly using the extracts, but I got up to taking like a lot of them, and I was taking like 30 grams of powder on top of them. So I was probably taking around 100
Oh,
grams a
wow.
day too. But I got to the point where, yeah, I would wake up at like 4 a.m. and be like, oh, I can't get back to sleep, and end up
Yeah.
taking more, and it was just no way to live. So is your story one where you were able to quit and then stay off kratom, or did you relapse? What was that like for you, and how was your quitting experience?
I just quit in November of 2023,
Okay.
and I never relapsed.
Oh, awesome.
But the way that I quit is kind of controversial.
Well, how'd you quit? Let's talk about that.
Well, I tried cold turkey before November multiple times, and it always failed. I couldn't do it more than a day.
Mm-hmm.
Like the withdrawals were
Terrible.
terrible.
Yeah.
I couldn't withdraw and function and hold down a job at the same time. It just wouldn't work. So I needed some type of help, like a detox or something.
Okay.
So I went to multiple detoxes, and none of them would accept me because it's not a controlled substance.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, they didn't. Most of the time, they didn't know anything about it, so they'd have to go in the back and Google it.
Yeah. So
You know?
they can't really help you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, nobody would take me because they were like, "Oh, this isn't even an illegal substance."
Yeah.
They just would kick me out.
That sucks. Well, how did you
Yeah.
finally get the help you needed, and how did that go?
Well, I finally got the help that I needed because someone that I am related to struggled with opiates.
Okay.
So they got on Suboxone, and they completely changed their life.
Yeah.
Like they're a completely different person, lovable, respectful, you know, just totally like the human they're supposed to be again.
Yeah.
But so they were like, "Why don't you talk to my doctor and
Okay.
see if he can do anything about it?" And I was like, "All right, yeah, I will." So I scheduled an appointment, talked to him, and I got on MATs to help me get off of kratom.
Nice.
Yeah, I actually went in there and I talked to the doctor and I explained it to him, and he said, "Yeah, I'm starting to see more and more patients that are coming in because they cannot get off of Kratom.
Yep.
So they had already prepared and done the research and knew all about it. So I got on it, and I'm still on it to this day, but a very low dose. The thing about it is it doesn't get in the way of my life.
Yep.
You know, there's no apathy. I don't get sick. I'm not dizzy. I want to go to work, you know.
Yeah, I
Like,
totally understand.
It's like who I used to be.
I totally understand. I'm also full disclosure on Suboxone. I'm also on a low dose.
Okay.
Yeah, I struggled with alcohol and opiates since I was a teenager. So I'm 42. So that's like 25 years, right? And I've been able to get like periods in my life where I've been sober from everything. But the longest I've ever gotten is like a year. And after the Kratom, my problem was I could get off it. Like I was able to get through the withdrawals, but by like the third week, the physical stuff would be gone. But like I was so like apathetic and like I was getting suicidal at one point. And I did that for like 2 years where I'd use and then I'd relapse and then I'd go through the withdrawals and it was just killing me, man. So I finally saw a doctor and they said the same thing that yours did, that they were seeing multiple people and like they started me, I think, a little bit too high, but like after a week, I tapered down to like 4 milligrams, and I've kind of like stayed there mostly, but gone a little bit lower now. But it works. Yeah, it just makes me feel normal.
Yeah, I know that's where I'm at.
Oh, like cool.
4 milligrams.
I think that's about. We've talked to a couple people. We actually did a special episode a couple weeks ago where we had a doctor that wrote a paper and is treating people for Kratom addiction, and his recommendation for medicated assisted treatment was somewhere in the 2 to 8 milligram range, depending on the severity of one's Kratom addiction. So it seems like they're starting to figure it out, which is cool.
I know it's kind of like I said, it is controversial.
It definitely is.
I say that because, like, you know, my wife is the one who got me in contact with you.
Yep, she is. Yeah, she was very nice.
Yeah, because during the times of trying to seek help, you know, I didn't have social media because that just connects me to everybody I don't want to talk to anymore, you know.
I understand totally, yeah.
So she got on Facebook and found, you know, the page and
oh, cool.
Yeah. We were trying to look for advice, you know.
Yeah. But
I remember he posted something about, oh, he's doing good. He's using Suboxone and then it was just like a firestorm of people.
Yeah, it's like a lightning rod. I don't.
Yeah. It's like, why? I mean, if it works for one person, then
yeah,
you know, what?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, Kratom it's not, crazy. You know, it's not fentanyl or something like that, but it does ruin your life the same way that fentanyl or alcohol or anything can, right? Like you just talked about how much it messed up your life. I had the same, you know, different problems, but you know, same life ruining shit. It's all the same in the end. So I feel the same way. Like I think our motto on the podcast is we're of the opinion that like you should try quitting on your own, and you know, if that doesn't work and you can't do it, then you should get help, and whatever it takes is what it takes, and there's no shame in anything. So we try to support all forms, but we also know that some people have a bad experience and have side effects, and you know, not every treatment's going to work for everybody, but you got to do what you got to do.
For sure,
so how did like the first 30 days of your quit go, and then you know, how did things turn around from there?
Not even gonna lie, it was like a miracle.
Yeah.
Like as soon as I started taking it, I didn't have any cravings for it. I didn't want it at all. It's like I did a complete 180 in one day.
I felt the same way.
I would say more like a week.
Yeah.
Because it did take me time to adjust to the Suboxone treatment. Because I never have struggled with opiates really, or anything similar, except for Kratom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like Suboxone is kind of strong.
Oh,
so
it definitely is.
It took a while. It took like a week for me to adjust, but once I did, I was back to my old self. You know.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, there's an adjustment period. Yeah. I still had some depression and stuff for like a month too, but it wasn't anything that was like it was totally handleable.
Yeah, no, I didn't have any of that.
Oh, that's good. It might just have been, environment related or something like that. So outside of the Medicaid assisted treatment, do you do any sort of like recovery work, like meetings or therapy or anything like that? Or
No, I don't. I mean, I do have a psychiatrist, that
that's
I
something.
kind of kept. Well, yeah, I kind of kept her in the loop
Oh,
and
good.
told her, what was going on and stuff. Because I do take some psychotropic medications, but
Okay.
not as many as I was taking. I've been getting off of those too, because those are just as bad, in my opinion.
So you're coming up on almost a year now. That's got to feel
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, yeah, it does. I mean, even when I was stopped drinking, I've never really been the kind of person to like pay attention to how long it's been. So,
Yeah, it's a big achievement. And I bet you have a lot more time for like your kids and stuff and,
oh yeah. And one thing I do not miss is the stinking mess, man.
Oh yeah, all
That
the
the
powder
powder
everywhere.
made, man. Dude, it just like slowly would built up in the cup holders of my car.
Yeah, that
I
stuff could
don't
get
miss that at
everywhere.
all, man. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I don't miss that. I don't to be honest, I don't really miss much of any of it. It's like
No, I don't either.
the high's all right, but it's definitely not worth all the trouble it causes and all the side effects and all the other crap.
I'm glad that, you know, where I'm at now, now I can love again the way that I'm supposed to.
Yeah.
That's like the most important thing that I had lost from it.
So that was another question I was going to ask you. Do you feel like you've gotten back the emotions that you were missing and that you're, no longer like as emotionless as you were? And like you said, you've got the love back. Is that all kind of evened out and gotten better now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Because now I'm laughing again at stuff that I wouldn't laugh at before while I was using Kratom, and it's easy now. I find myself wanting to be around my kids more, and I want to be involved. And like now, I'll set a plan. I'll make a commitment to do something and follow through, and not try to get out of it. Because I don't want to go. Understand?
Yeah, I know. I totally understand. You can be reliable. If you say you're going to do something, people know that you'll be there and you'll follow through versus, when you're in active addiction, if something better comes along or you don't, you didn't have a chance to or you ran out of kratom and you've got to run to the smoke shop, like, you're going to go do that over whatever commitment you made to your family or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Are there other things that you've found that have gotten better now that you've been sober for almost a year?
I can eat a bowl of cereal and it not
That's a
completely wreck my stomach.
yeah. Did you have a lot of health
Yeah.
problems from the amount of kratom you were taking?
Um, Not like nothing diagnosed from a doctor, but I would say, yeah, I was constantly nauseous. I was dizzy all the time. I got, what is it? I forget, the eye, like when your eyes would
The
tick.
wobbles, yeah.
The wobbles, that's right, that's right. Yeah, I got that a lot. And dizzy and just like constant. I mean, I probably went years with surviving on nausea, trying to manipulate a way to get Zofran from my doctor.
Yeah, I was always like not eating enough or like binge eating because I was like trying to time it around my doses and I was always getting sick too. It was a nightmare.
Yeah, no, it's terrible.
Yeah, all that.
That is one thing too. Binge eating. I would binge eat a bunch at nighttime.
Yeah.
So then, and then during the day I wouldn't have to eat in hopes of like, feeling a buzz or whatnot.
Yeah, which
But
would
it never came.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the end it just never comes. It felt like at the end of taking kratom I could take so much and like all it would ever do is make me sicker.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a crazy substance. Anyway, all right. Well, out of maybe we'll ask a couple fun questions. We always like to ask some fun questions of our guests. So, if you had all the money in the world and all the time in the world, and you could travel anywhere, where would you go and why?
I would probably go to Sao Paulo, Brazil, and visit the Del Cristo statue.
Oh, the big one.
Yeah, because there's a skate park right at the bottom of it.
Oh, cool. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
so I've always wanted to go there. It's like the statue's here, and then right at the bottom there's a bowl and then a little street park.
Oh, cool. For the
Yeah, so I think we'll want to go there.
No, that's a good trip. I've never been to Brazil, and for our guest, he was just
haven't either.
showing our guest who Stevenson was showing a big figure in juxtaposition for a small bowl that you could skateboard in, just for context, because we don't have the visual.
Okay.
So
Oh yeah, that's right.
all good. So how would you like describe your life today, kratom free, versus when you were addicted?
I feel like I've got my life back. I mean, it completely just sucked the soul out of me for years, I mean, like we mentioned earlier, I'm happy again. I want to get up in the morning and go to work and do what I'm supposed to do, and I'm not dreading fulfilling my responsibilities. Probably the best thing to come out of it for me.
Yeah, that's great. I think the words you said, I think you said it at least twice where you've got your life back, and I think that speaks for itself. If someone was to come to you and ask you, what would be your top tip for them if they were getting ready to quit kratom, what would you tell them?
A couple people already have, actually.
Cool. So what advice did you give them?
I always tell them, try to stop by yourself. Just try to cut it out. Try and taper down or start skipping doses or cold turkey, either one. Just try it. And if that doesn't work, then I would take the next step. I could recommend the doctor that I know that is willing to help, But I always tell them first, try to do it yourself. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's good advice. That's the similar advice that we always try to give on the podcast. Try to do it yourself. Make a plan. If that doesn't work, well, we actually say try to taper first, but most people seems like tapering doesn't work for a lot of people. And if you can't, because that's like the easiest way to minimize withdrawals. But then if that doesn't work, just quit. And if that doesn't work, then do what you got to do to get some help.
Kratom almost seems, when someone does get in the throes of it, it almost seems just as bad as alcohol because it's everywhere now.
Yes.
You can't drive down a main thoroughfare in a town without seeing a flashing sign that says Kratom.
That is a very good point.
Yeah, in the same way as you can't drive down that same road without seeing advertisements for alcohol. It's the same thing in that aspect.
Yeah, I'd agree. And in the state I live in, alcohol's a little more heavily controlled than some other places. So I'd argue,
really?
Yeah, like you can't, in every convenience store, they always don't have beer. Only some of them do. I don't know. It's weird in New England. It's weird up here in Maine. Seems like every convenience store has the little extracts of kratom now in the front, which is just great.
Yeah.
So it does make it hard, but I think like booze, what I remember from recovery is like that stuff's always going to be there, so the world's not going to get sober just because Jacob and Stevenson did. It's going to keep doing what it's doing. So you just gotta want to live a different life, and you just gotta do your best every day to live it. There's a lot more to it than that, but that's a starting point at least.
That's a synopsis.
A synopsis, yeah, good way to put it.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you'd want to, tell our audience, or any questions maybe I didn't ask you that you'd like to share with the world?
I mean, if there's any way that you could ever use my help in the future, or if there's any way that I could become more involved, I think that would be good for me.
Yeah, we have like kratom meetings now that go every night, so I can send you some info on that. And sometimes,
cool.
Yeah, it's real cool because it's they're all virtual, and everybody's got that mutual shared thing, and they're everybody's real friendly. It's a cool community, so I'll send you some links to that. We got a website for that, and
is it like a panel video chat.
Yeah, exactly. It's like just like a Zoom chat, and everybody takes turns, and you can say as much or as little as you want, and just listen if you like. Yeah, I'll send you a link to that. And we do get emails from guests, and sometimes they reach out to us on social media. So if anybody is interested in asking you any questions or relates to anything in your story and wants to connect, we'll certainly send them your way.
Yeah, sure, no problem. I'm always willing to help.
Well, that's great. I think that's a really important part of recovery too. Well, Stevenson, I want to thank you so much for taking some time to chat with me. Really awesome that you're almost a year sober from Kratom, so that'll be a really big milestone. And thank you so much for coming on again. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, have a great night.
All right, you too.
Bye. Kratom in the headlines. Hey everybody, this is Jacob, and this week I'm going to bring you our Kratom in the headlines segment. So this week we have a segment from The Hour, which is a publication based in Connecticut, and this article is entitled Connecticut Expert Alarmed by Popularity of Kratom Xylazine Drugs, and it says incredibly risky. So this article covers just a little bit more than Kratom, but we'll try to narrow in specifically on the Kratom aspects. So it starts out by saying, and this is based in Norwalk, Connecticut, drug overdoses have decreased year over year in the Nutmeg State, i.e. Connecticut. The Norwalk City Family and Children's Agency is concerned about how new popular substances will impact the state and its clients. So they note these two substances in particular, xylazine and Kratom, worry a specific behavioral health director Jess Vivenzio, who is the director of the Family and Children's Agency. She said nearly half of the clients in their outpatient program have self-reported using Kratom, and that the substance is unregulated and is associated with 5 Connecticut overdoses last year. They also said about 3 of the clients' drug screens were positive for xylazine, which is known as tranq and has been a popular cutting agent in fentanyl. I'm going to skip the xylazole piece of the article, but it does talk specifically about the Kratom, and the doctor is quoted as saying, Kratom is not something we should be sleeping on. That's from Chris Boyle, who's the communications director, of the Department of Public Health for Connecticut. Last year, she said Kratom was the sole cause of 1 overdose death, and it was one of the substances that was found in 4 other overdose deaths. So she notes that Kratom use affects the central nervous system and causes mind-altering symptoms. The symptoms include dizziness, drowsiness, hallucinations, delusions, depression, trouble breathing, confusion, tremors, and even seizures. Users report that Kratom can act as a stimulant in low doses and produce opiate-like effects in higher doses. The behavioral health director or communications director goes on to note that Kratom is more along the lines of alcohol in that it is legal, but that doesn't mean that it's not addictive, and that it doesn't mean that it can't cause problems for some people. She also notes that this can make it more dangerous because you can use it responsibly, and also people need to understand that there is a risk that your responsible use will turn into something that you can't control. She's also concerned that increased Kratom use can cause tragic outcomes, like a Florida father that overdosed and died, leaving behind a high-needs daughter and wife. And then it goes on to note some common CDC statistics. She says Kratom should not be something we're sleeping on, and has noted that the Department of Public Health in Connecticut has no current efforts for the prevention of Kratom-associated overdoses, and that the Department of Medical Health and Addiction Services routinely reviews state knowledge about the impact of Kratom on mental health and its potentially dangerous adverse effects. There's a little bit more to the article than that, but it was an interesting and short read. Interesting in the fact that we're seeing more and more of this, more local news segments explaining to the public what Kratom is. And I think slowly but surely the word's getting out that Kratom is a substance that can be of concern for some people, and that it can be an addictive substance, and it's just one of those things that hopefully more and more people will be aware of, and more folks in the community will be able to help those that are in need when suffering with kratom use disorder. So that's kratom in the headlines for this week. We hope you keep it kratom free and have a great week.